So my goal was cross the entire Gobi Desert in Mongolia, those 2,000 kilometers in as short an expanse of time as I could, but stop along the way with anybody that we would meet and capture that story, put it together into film, and then broadcast it across the internet. Using the medium of film and photograph, we're able to share what a place looks like, the story of the run being the thread that ties it all together. Our biggest fans are schools that follow along and download content. We give them everything we shoot. They can edit it. They can use it in any way that they want to teach the stories in their classrooms of the places that I'm going. And some of these places, Mongolia being one of them, definitely the Atacama Desert, are the hottest places on the planet. I mean, the temperatures are exceedingly high. Take, for example, this photograph. This is a photograph of a thermometer measuring the ground temperature in Death Valley, California, United States, the largest national park in the lower 48 U.S. states. I crossed it from the north to the south in the middle of the summer. When you press the Celsius button on the thermometer, all it says is damn hot. It won't even give you a number. It's so hot enough that it melts the bottom of your running shoes. The rocks are so hot. But even though it was so extreme, so hot, there was beauty in this place of such dire circumstances. It felt like we're in the middle of Death Valley. And you know the smell in the springtime when it rains and the air has that smell of water? You know what I'm talking about? Those water vapors? In Death Valley, in the middle of the Death Valley, it's 60 degrees Celsius, but we could smell water in the air. There was a thunderstorm happening, but it was so hot, the majority of the rain evaporated before it hit the ground. But there was still a rainbow in the middle of Death Valley, right? Crossing Death Valley was technically a very difficult thing. Any place that I go to in the world, there are no roads, mostly. Sometimes if there is, I'm going to run on them. But most of the time, I'm off-road, doing straight lines. That means going across some pretty difficult terrain. This was the terrain in part of Death Valley. This was one of my crew members. As you can see, he's not smiling. He doesn't like the fact that he had to bring the water out there into this area. But probably the most difficult terrain that I ever ran across was here in Chile, the Atacama Desert. I ran 1,200 kilometers from Arica to Copiapó through the desert in February. I don't need to tell you how hot that was. I'm wearing long sleeves, not because I think it looks cool, but because the sun was so insane, it was burning my skin off, right? And running on these rocks that were not only hot, but sharp in the Atacama really took its toll on my body. But it's not just the hot places. I've been to some cold places. The other end of the thermometer, we talked about the Canadian Arctic at the beginning. This is what Siberia looks like in the winter. Siberia. You're going to go running in Siberia. You're not going to move very fast because it's so cold. You're like this, right? Once again, I'm dragging all of my supplies in the sled, in this case, unsupported, back to taking everything. And my teammate, Kevin, is in the same predicament. He's dragging everything. We have equal 35 kilos of gear and supplies in each of our sleds, crossing Lake Baikal in Siberia. But once again, you know what? We're not complaining because we chose to be there. And we're experiencing amazing things. The ice of Lake Baikal is the clearest ice on the planet. And I'm standing on this ice, and I look down, and I see fish frozen in the ice. Like it's a meter down, and the fish just maybe one day in the fall, they were swimming, I don't know, and they got stuck in the ice. But the coldest place that I'd ever been, of all the cold spots, was the top, the bottom of the world, the geographic South Pole. Now, this place was cold. And I spent close to 35 days, over 1 month, going from Hercules Inlet to the geographic South Pole, uphill. But the beauty of this expedition was once again, everyone, we could take the expedition and bring it into classrooms for free. Schools could have this interpretation of the world's largest desert, Antarctica, see it from our eyes, from our cameras, experience everything that we experienced in these crevasses, everything that we experienced with the winds, everything that we experienced in surviving on Antarctica, and then by virtue of technology, bring them onto the expedition with us, satellite phone calls, talking one-on-one about what it was like in that moment on Antarctica, as far away from home as you can be. Students from around the world are talking to us. And it reinvigorated in my mind at that time an idea that I had had. For many years I'd been doing these expeditions where I'm the one talking to students. But how awesome would it be to have a student out there doing what I do? 16, 17 years old, they've got a sled on, or they got a backpack on, and they're the ones talking to students in classrooms, saying, hey, I can relate to you, and I'm going to share something that I learned about myself today.